You are listening to the Success Leaves Clues podcast,
where we're having conversations with regular people doing outstanding and legacy-changing things in corporate America and entrepreneurship.
If you're looking for the blueprint to help you make less mistakes on your journey to freedom and ultimate purpose, then this is the podcast for you.
And now, here's your host, Dr. K.
I'm glad to be here today with the owner of EVIG Marketing, Josie. Thanks for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. You got a couple businesses. You got Rize Academy as well.
Yep. Just started Rize probably about 3-4 months ago and starting to see some really big traction, which is really exciting.
Before we get into kind of how you got to entrepreneurship and got into starting these companies, can you tell me a little bit about how they tie in together? Because I know Rize Academy, that's all about finding somebody that can be your mentor, leaning on a guru, somebody, an expert in a field, and then you've got a marketing firm. So how do they tie together? Or do they even tie together?
They do. So I started my marketing firm a year, 14, 15 months ago.
Okay.
And started seeing some success, and especially around last October, started seeing some really great success. And it was then that I realized I should share this with people. I should throw a conference and show people the mentors that have helped me. And so mentorship had already played a really big role in helping me start up my company. And so I already knew mentorship was so important for people. And then I was all right, I'm going to throw this conference. But kind of in the same time that I was throwing this conference, the two owners of Rize Academy came to me and were like, hey, we just want you to do some marketing for us and kind of do a little odds and ends for us to help us get some momentum going. Mm-hmm. Well, they came to my conference. Long story short, they came to my conference, and then afterwards they're like, hey, why don't you just come in as a part owner? We saw your conference. We see the people that you're associating with. We see the people that, have mentored you and the connections that you have. We'd really just like you to be part of the company. And so, my marketing company and taking the step and taking the risk to kind of go into that actually kind of had a company fall into my lap because I was willing to put myself out there, do a conference and really just, network with people. Really paid off in a big way for me.
I can agree with a lot of that. Networking is huge. They say, your network determines your net worth. And that's a huge buzzword, tagline, whatever you want to call it. But I've actually seen it in my life, just be effective and impactful because there's a lot of stuff that comes from networking. It's mostly exposure. There's a lot of stuff that I never would have accomplished or done in my life had I not met somebody who knew the shortcut or who was already doing it. And is that kind of what you're looking at there with your company?
Oh, 100%. I mean, even with EVIG, when I first started, I found a mentor. I was an accountant before I got into marketing. That's what I majored in college and stuff. And, I already I really had a passion for marketing, but it just didn't make sense in my mind. I was no, accounting's safe. I want to be an accountant. And, it was really when I was sitting in a cubicle looking at spreadsheets day in and day out, trying to reconcile some accounts where I was you know what, I need to look at something else. And we had a baby on the way, and my wife wanted to be at home. So I was well, maybe I can start doing something on the side, start a side hustle. That's another one of those buzzwords that's really popular right now. And so I found a mentor, and he's dude, what are you doing? You got this, you're able to connect with people really well. You're able to network really well. Why aren't you looking at marketing as an option? You can learn those skills and then implement them. And I mean, I said, I'd taken quite a few marketing courses in college because they were interesting to me. So a lot of my generals with business and stuff, that's what I was focusing on. And so ultimately, that mentor really helped me shape even just my marketing company. And then now with Rize Academy, we want to show other people that, hey, if you're focused on your health and your wealth, we have mentors out there that we go out, we vet, we make sure that they have customer successes and B, that you're going to get personalized attention, so that if you need some assistance, if you're interested in starting a side hustle, if you're interested in getting in better shape, we have these people that we've gone out and like third party vetted. We're the Better Business Bureau of online coaching, and we make sure that, you know, we got the best coaches to work with.
I like that, the Better Business Bureau of online coaching. And the reason that sticks out to me is I've done some online coaching. I've worked with mentors that have been organic, and then there's been mentorship that I've actually sought out. And sometimes you can, especially in today's age with social media and so much access, there are, in my opinion, mentors that don't have the expertise in that field, right? They've never really done that thing. And I love having a Better Business Bureau for that. You know, somebody that's already vetted that mentor and say, okay, they're qualified to, you know, share their expertise in this field.
100%. I mean, I've lost money on like really bad mentorships or, you know, programs that were like, hey, we're going to teach you how to do all of this, and you're going to be able to make $10,000 a month passively. And, you know, like selling you that pipe dream. And, you know, I fell victim to it. And, you know, and that's why it's so important. Like the mission, because mentorship is so important. Like you listen to some of these millionaires, you listen to some of these people that are just skyrocketing right now, you know, people like Alex Ramosi, Ryan Pineda, like these really big, have these really big followings that are continuing to grow. Yeah. And one of the things that they say is like, find a mentor. So we know it's important, but sometimes we're afraid to know where to go or to take that step, because you do hear those scams where it's like, I gave this guy $10,000 to invest into Bitcoin and I haven't seen anything yet. And it's just, you know, so that's ultimately why we started Rize Academy, is to make sure that, hey, you know, that we've vetted these people. And so if you're willing to work, you're going to see some pretty good traction with these guys.
What does the typical relationship look like once I'm in Rize and I find a mentor? Does Rize then drop out, or what's the relationship like to, you know, how do they foster that relationship? Because sometimes mentorship, like I said, it has to be organic. The mentor and the mentee both have obligations. So they got things that they have to, and responsibilities. So how do y'all make sure that happens?
Yeah. So we want to be as involved as we can be in the first part to make sure it's a smooth transition, so that you can get in, you can talk with the mentor, you can actually feel good about like what they're offering you. And then really we want you to be in that program as seamless as possible. And so then we'll step back and really let you be fully like submerged, I guess, in that program, because we don't want there to be confusion of like, okay, so I went through Rize Academy, so do I keep talking to Rize, or do I keep talking to, you know, this coach? And it's like, no, your coach is your guy now. Like we're really kind of that one-stop shop that you can come in and just be like, I have interest in e-commerce, but I don't know where to go. Or I have interest in, you know, building my own company, and I want to be hands-on, but I don't know where to go. Like, what are my options? And so then we can say, hey, you know, do you want, you know, to be more like passive? Do you want it to be more hands-on? Like, and then we can kind of help filter it out and give you options of like, hey, well, here's someone that does selling on Amazon, teaches some courses. Here's like his track record. Here's what his current students are seeing. And so that way you're getting a pretty unbiased option, and we're not upcharging for our like our services or anything like that. Like, I mean, coaching isn't cheap anyways, but we don't want to add any extra expense to the students. In fact, we want it to be as good of a deal for them as possible.
Right. I can see why the two founders or the co-owners brought you in, because you've got a skill set that honestly most entrepreneurs don't want to do, and that's accounting and marketing. Right. Most entrepreneurs want to stick to what they're good at. They want to stick to either their technical skills or the business of their business. They don't want to do those other things, or they don't know how to do those other things. Mm-hmm. So you brought in two key aspects that any business could benefit from.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like I think back about it and it's just, I am actually really happy that I went through accounting and that I spent several years like as an accountant, because it really makes you understand like the language of business. That's what you'll hear anytime that you're going through accounting classes, is like, this is the language of business, credits and debits, balance sheets, making sure accounts are reconciled. Like all those things are really valuable. And they're really, especially like if you're looking to even just acquire a new company, or anything else, like to be able to go in and look at the finances and know the state and the health of the business just from some paperwork is huge. But then marketing, you're like, okay, so are we seeing return on investment with marketing? Like how much are we doing? Like it was really fun. I went through the books with one of my customers. They're an e-commerce company. They sell towels. I mean, the towels are pretty amazing. Like they'll dry by the time you step off the beach and go to your car. Like they're dry by the time you get to your car. And so they have this really good product.
I think you just sold one because I know.
That. Hey, yeah. And and so they have a really good product. Yeah. And we went through the books this last time, and like, because of the accounting and marketing kind of expertise, I was able to say, well, for every dollar that we're putting into ads, we're seeing a 4.5 return on that dollar. So we're making $4.50 per dollar of marketing, which is pretty good. And so it's like you can catch those trends, but then you can also say, well, here is where we're seeing the most benefit. And so, accounting's really played a huge role in like helping me to understand just like the language of business, I guess, for lack of better words.
Yeah, I like what you're talking about with the health of the business. A lot of entrepreneurs, and when I'm talking about these level of entrepreneurs, I'm talking about either solopreneurs or mom and pops, right? These smaller businesses, They typically don't know the health of their business. All they know is they're going in every day, they're doing the tasks, they're doing the daily activity. They know their doors are open, but they have no idea, what the P&Ls or the profits are, for this business. They're just, throwing spaghetti at a wall, so to speak.
Yeah. And then that's where you get frustrated. And I honestly think that's where a lot of, the 94% or 97% of startup businesses fails. They aren't taking into account like the true numbers of, okay, where am I at and where do I need to go? And it's kind of cool because I don't know, accounting is really interesting because you can really look at it and you can almost make future decisions you can make future decisions based off the current state of the company. Okay. So, whether you can grow, whether you can acquire, whether you can just, maybe you need to kind of pad the old bank account so that you can go out and have some dry powder. Because I honestly think in a year, 2 years, you're going to see some companies go on fire sale. You're going to see a lot of these people that have, done the hard part of starting up a business, and, they're going to be selling for a significant discount. So if you got some dry powder and you have been kind of accounting for that, you can really make some big moves in these next couple of years.
You talk about a mentor. Was that your first mentor that you had? You think in your life, the one that was helping you to transition into entrepreneurship?
So I served in the military for about 9 years.
Oh, what branch?
And
I was too. All right. Yep. Thanks for your service. Yeah.
Oh, really? Thank you for your service. Yeah, this is perfect. Yeah. I think through the Army, like you see two extremes. You see either really good leaders or you see really bad leaders. Yeah. And those really good leaders can be such impactful mentors to you. Like I got really lucky in the fact that I had one section chief, and he called me out. Like I vividly remember this. Like I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. I was kind of being lazy, and really underperforming. I wasn't living up to my full potential. And so he calls me into his office and he sits me down. He's like, "Look, Josie, what are you doing? Like, you know what you're capable of, and you know that you're not living up to that." So he taught me, like, there's really no excuses. Like, you got to go out and you got to perform. You got to do the hard work, and that's how you're going to move up. And so I kind of took that and have now like put it into, entrepreneurship, where it's like, oh yeah, you're right. Like most of what I'm seeing, and one thing the military is really good at doing is teaching you consistency.
Yeah.
And I think that's, again, where a lot of businesses fail, is like consistency, hard
Discipline,
work, and
yep.
accounting for the future.
Yep.
Like, yep. And so, I'd say like my dad was in the Army for about like 36 years. And so, having that strong military leadership, like in home and then in my life afterwards, I think that was like where true mentorship started. And then I kind of dropped off, because after that I was like, oh, like I'm just going to go to school and do my thing, and I don't really need a good mentor. And so the first time I truly like invested in myself was this mentor that taught me like how to start my business and how to grow it, and how to, more importantly, how to sell. Like that's a really undervalued skill as well. Yeah. And I'm not saying I'm super great at it, but I've gotten a lot better. And so it's, that's one of those skills that can help propel you, and that my mentor personally helped me with a ton.
You can do sales. You sold me a towel in 30 seconds.
Yeah. I said I've gotten better, right?
Yeah. So you left your job as an accountant to start your marketing firm?
So I did a little bit of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, which you always hear these people saying like, no, you need to be 100% committed. And I think you can be 100% committed to your business, but still not living like in absolute poverty and not going 100% in yet. Because what I was able to, be an accountant, and I was able to work for 5 months while I was building this company. And then I was like, okay, I can replace my income. I have some pretty good momentum going, and now it's starting to really detract from my business. I mean, like lunch every single day, I was on sales calls. I was like,
wait, lunch while you was at the job, like, you would take your lunch break and do sales calls, do other things.
Yeah.
That's time
management. I was constantly like, I was constantly like, it was consuming me. And I think that's when I knew, okay, it's time to take a step back, and really just, it wasn't fair to my employer, and it wasn't fair to my business. And so that's when I was like, okay, I really need to take a step back and just go 100% in. And so I made that leap. And so I started my marketing company like back in May of 2021. And so by October, like end of October, I was taking that step out and really fully investing into entrepreneurship and betting on myself.
Well, I'm glad that you share that transparency, right? Because right now, the climate is you got to be an entrepreneur, you got to be your own boss, you got to quit your job, all of this stuff. And I don't subscribe to that. I like the 1 foot in, 1 foot out transition like you did. I even like, if it's possible, to keep your job and run your business. I think it's more realistic. And I think you can, build something sustainable that way, and I appreciate you sharing that, because it goes against what's being shared right now. And I think people need that.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I subscribe to too, is that you hear about these extremes of like, I wake up at 4:30 in the morning and I take a cold shower upon waking up. And I'm not saying that that's bad. And I'm not saying that might optimize you a little bit more, but when people think that you have to go to the extreme in order to be successful, it often like they'll go full bore for maybe like a whole month and then burn out because they aren't seeing the success right away. Maybe that's just taking way more than they thought. And so they quit. And so going in with it, like with a realistic outlook of like, okay, so, I'm going to build this business. I'm going to continue working because I got to provide for my family. I got to pay the mortgage. I got to put food on the table. And then really then planning though, like your future and building what you want your future to be. You can do that in that 5 to 9 period. You'd be surprised that even if you call different time zones, people are still working. So you can make sure that you're on those calls and selling, And so, I 100% agree. Like I think that narrative actually burns people out or makes people think that it's unattainable.
Yeah, it's not realistic.
I can never do that. I could never wake up at 4:30. I could never take cold showers every day of the week. I could never, do all of this. And so coming in with a realistic outlook, it really helps people say, oh, I can do this. This is easy. Like, okay, I just have to take one step at a time. I have to slowly build, and that's okay.
Do you think making that transition with you having an accounting background, do you think it hindered you, or do you think it helped you? And the reason I'm asking that is because just to leave your secure, solid income, right, and then go into entrepreneurship that's not really defined, did you already account for that? No pun intended. Or did you, or did that hinder you because it caused more fear? You're like, hey, look, I'm looking at the numbers every day, and I don't know if I can make this work.
By October, I had fully vested into the idea that I could create the future that I wanted to create. And that the only way I was going to do that was by betting on myself. And like you said, I was able to run the numbers, and I was able to know, like, okay, well, at the very least, all of our expenses are going to be covered, and we're going to be able to save like a little bit. And then I was like, I know I can keep growing this company. I know I can do this. And so I would say it actually kind of helped me, because I was like, okay, like, I know that we're going to be taken care of. I know that we're going to be able to do this. So like in my mind, it was like a peace of mind knowing, okay, I can take this step. I can take this leap. I will say the part that I stumbled was that, you hear about these people that are like, I can work whenever I want. I can work this like entrepreneurial like schedule. And I kind of succumbed to like this idea of like, I can only work like 3 hours a day. And so, there was like a couple months where I started to stumble and I started to fall, because like I wasn't consistent. I wasn't like putting in the super hard work, and especially like in a startup, like you have to be willing to, dedicate some time to it. And so I started stumbling a little bit. I started to kind of retreat and not see as much success. And so then full realization came back to me, like, oh, I'm not doing what I was doing to be successful. Like I took a step back and thought I could be more hands off. And it's like, no, I gotta.
Yeah, it's good that you assess that and was honest with yourself, you know what I mean? And say, look, I'm not doing the work that I need to be doing. It's almost like when you were having a conversation with your section leader in the Army that's saying, hey, you're not putting forth the work that you need to put forth. And same thing with your business, but you were able to recognize it much quicker now.
Yeah. I mean, and you would think that he would, like, I would understand that like right from the get-go, because it's like that's been an underlying theme through my life, is like hard work's going to pay off. And not only hard work, but smart work and knowing your value in the market is going to pay off. But, it's always like these subtle reminders to keep you humble and to keep you hungry that are going to help you be successful. And so now I'm just like, okay, I really can't be this, at least not yet. At least when I'm in this startup position, I can't be this person that's only working 10 to 12 hours a week. I've got to be that person that's working maybe a little bit like 50 hours a week right now to really get this up and going, especially between the two companies, and making sure that I'm prepping myself so that I can be successful, that I can see some success with these businesses.
Yeah. When you were making that transition, you said that you realized that the business that you were creating could actually give you the life that you desired or designed. What was that life?
It was just honestly being able to be home and spend time with the family. Like I said, we had a newborn at that time. My wife was like transitioning out of the workforce. And as an accountant, I was working like 60 hours a week. Like if you account for like all of the commuting and everything, it was about 60 hours a week with the commuting and overtime and everything like that. And so that's 60 hours a week that I'm not seeing my family. So it's like I'd come home, eat dinner, and then we'd put the baby to bed. So it's like I wasn't being able to grow this relationship with my daughter. And so that started prepping in my mind, like, okay, what do I really want? And one of the things, like, especially entrepreneurs, like they start working hard, they start working, tirelessly. Sorry, that was a slip up on the word, but they aren't super clear on where they want to be or what their actual end goal is. And there's that really great quote by, I think it's Jim Rohn, where it's begin with the end in mind. So you need to be super, super clear. You need to have some really good clarity about your goals. Like, what is it that you truly want? Where is it that you truly want to be? Because for me, it was like, okay, I want to be able to take an hour in the middle of the day and spend time with my daughter. I want to be able to do that, 3 times throughout the day. I want to be able to go to the gym whenever I want throughout my day, be able to schedule that in. And it's like, I'm still working hard, but now it's on my
flexible
terms. Now it's, I create my schedule. I can decide where I work and how much I work. Like I said, I got to be really careful about how much I work, because you don't want to fall into that trap of just saying, well, I'm this lifestyle entrepreneur. I only have to work 2 hours a week.
But it can easily go the other way too, right? You can become a workaholic and you quit your job to have more time for the family. And then you get so engulfed in entrepreneurship that you have less time for the family. So it can be, a negative as well.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And again, that's where that clarity comes in, is like, why are you actually doing what you want to do? Like, why are you starting this company? Why are you starting a second company? Why do you want them to be successful? And for me, it's because, like I said, I want to spend my time with my daughter in the day, with my wife in the day. I want to be able to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner with them. I want to be able to spend that one-on-one time with them, and really be able to do it on my terms. And so, that clarity's helped me a ton in just knowing, reminding me of that why, reminding me of the end in mind. And I mean, I got some pretty big goals. I got some things that I want to accomplish, and that I'm working towards, but it's pretty awesome to be able to do that and, be at home with the family.
Would marketing help me with something? So either for the listeners to kind of understand, when you're finding a marketing firm, or even if you've got internal and you're trying to do marketing, how do you gauge success in marketing? Because to me, one of the hardest things is trying to see an ROI or effective marketing.
Yeah, it's, that's one thing I would say that is pretty uniform throughout like the industry, is people are saying like, well, how do I see this ROI? And I will say it takes time. Like, good marketing takes time. But really it's, okay, so what's the overall goal? Like, again, like what is the end of the mission? Like, what are we trying to accomplish here? Is it to increase, total online sales? Is it to increase number of leads coming in? Is it to, create brand awareness? Is it to, what is it that we're trying to do? Like, what's the end goal? And then, like, with marketing, the first thing I'd say is, if your marketing firm doesn't have like a clear step-by-step action plan, like laid out for you, so that you know where you're going to be at all times, and that's not regularly communicating that, then I would start to question, be like, okay, well, what's the 3-month plan? What's the 6-month plan? What's the whole year plan? Like, how are we going to get, like, I told you what the goal was, and I was willing to take the steps that you prescribed. And so first, are they being super clear with the steps that it's going to take for you to be successful? Do they have a proven track record of success? Are they providing transparency to you so that you can see that? And, I was able to hop on the call with the marketing person at that towel company, and we were able to pull those reports, and we were able to see very tangible results. For them, it was easy. They just wanted to increase online sales. And we have certain benchmarks that we're trying to hit. We broke, first, like, they were maybe $100, $500 a month in online sales. They were killing it at like boat shows and RV shows and like these trade shows that they'd go to. They'd have $20,000 days because of the product. but they weren't
at
able
trade
to
shows, you can see
translate that,
right? You can see the
online sales.
product happen. You can, what do you call it? Demo it, stuff like that. So.
Yeah, exactly. And people were falling in love with it. And so it's, how do we take that and how do we translate that into the online sales? And so, now we're hitting 2,500 months, we're hitting 3,000 months, and we're getting close to $5,000 months. And we're tracking our ad spend. We have a very laid out plan of, hey, this is where we want to be in 3 months. This is how much ad spend it's going to take to get there. This is how much, these are the different platforms that we need to start hitting. Okay, so we're seeing some pretty good traffic on Facebook. Now it's time to move into TikTok, Pinterest, and all these different platforms, and make sure that we're actually seeing and testing the waters. Because that's the other part with marketing, is that marketers sometimes have this eagerness to just hop in, but we really need to test the audience. Like, who is our customer? Like, who is the person? And you can do that with really good market research. If you have the budget for it, I strongly recommend doing some really good market research. There's some really good companies out there that can provide that. And so that you know who you're even marketing to.
All right. And then your firm, do you do only local brick and mortar companies? Well, I know this company has some online presence. So is it nationwide? Who do you provide a service for?
Yeah. So when I first started out, it was actually home service based businesses, people that are putting epoxy flooring down on concrete, in garages, patios, whatever. And we were nationwide. I mean, I was working with people, Texas, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Arizona, Utah, North Dakota, Idaho. So we were really all over. And now I would say that we're actually still pretty nationwide. I have consolidated I'm really picky now with the clients that I bring on, because my time is limited because of Rize, because I am giving, full attention to both of these. So I need to be very deliberate with the customers that I bring on, and with the overall mission in mind. Does our objectives align? And so I am very particular about the customers that I bring on. And so, it does take saying no to some opportunities that might be great opportunities, but that don't align with my personal goals and where I want the company to be.
So you talk about that you're 100% dedicated, you're full time in both of these companies, and they're both doing phenomenally well. So congratulations on that. You're doing a great job. But you got both of these companies, but you also said your wife was in a transition period at the same time. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep. So she was actually also an accountant, which if you would have told us when we first started dating that we both be accountants, we'd probably laugh at you, because we're just there's no way. But, we were both accountants, and she, by far and away, she is the better accountant out of the two of us. She can really go in depth, and she has a very good eye for detail. And so now, she's focused on being there for our daughter, raising our daughter, and providing that atmosphere at home that she always wanted for our children, which is awesome. But now, as our daughter gets older, she's going to probably come in and start helping more with one of the businesses, maybe in taking care of the finance portion of it, and really kind of being.
That's great. It goes back to, like you said, the ultimate goal of the time freedom. And now you're both able to be home. You only have the one daughter. Is that right? Yep. So you're able to, provide that time, that parenting. And like you said, there's nothing like being able to, stop in the middle of the day once your daughter gets to an age where she's in soccer, cheerleading, whatever it is. And you don't have to, an assembly, awards at school, and you don't have to ask somebody, hey, can I be there for my child? There's nothing like it.
Yeah. And there's something special about being able to say, hey, I drop my daughter off for school and I go and pick her up every single day. I'm always there in the stands for her, supporting her. And, as a military kid, you don't really get that support. And so it's my dad was deployed for 6 years of some of my most developmental years. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because I grew in other ways. And, my dad is like one of my hero. That's who I look up to. But like, I am saying, like, he wasn't able to be there. And so being able to provide that for my daughter is really special for me, because I'm able to be there for her. I'm able to, help her throughout like different challenges that she's going to face, and really help her become who she needs
Tell me
to
a little
be.
bit about the future of Rize. Kind of short term, not too far out, but where is Rize, growing to, and what do you need from the audience to be a part of Rize or grow Rize?
Yeah. So great question. Really, it's really awesome. With Rize, it's all about the number of people that we can help, like achieve either their health goals or their wealth goals. I have gone through our personal training course with our coaches, Brady and Cammie, and I lost like 20 pounds. Like, I'm down 20 pounds, and I'm like halfway through the program, like, taking control of the health and making that a real focus in my life has been game changing. But then also, some of these different coaches and stuff, they provide so much great value. So listeners, like, if you're looking for that change, if you're looking for some like direction to, make an extra couple grand a month, or start a business, or just get healthier, like, just reach out. That's what we're here for, is just, like I said, Better Business Bureau of Online Coaching. We're not going to try to push you into a program that doesn't make sense to you. We're more of like a sounding board, and someone that's going to help kind of guide you to some really good potential options for you. And, long-term goal for Rize is we want to get to a point where we're helping 100 students a month. I think that's probably, I would say, our next year of goal is like, we want to get to 100 students a month that we're helping every single month. And then, continue to grow that to bigger numbers, so that we're providing more, more value in the world.
Well, I appreciate your time, Austin. I'm gonna let you get back to not only your daughter, but your two businesses, because it can be a lot. But I've got something that I love to do on every episode. The name of the show is Success Leaves Clues Podcast. So I like to point out a couple of clues that I recognized through your journey that helped you to become successful, and I'm quite sure the audience will pick up a lot of other things as they watch or listen to the show. So one thing that really stood out to me a lot is your focus on things outside of a monetary goal, right? So you didn't talk about money at all, which is amazing, especially with you being an accountant. So you talked about you talk about your goal of time freedom and being able to spend time with your daughter. And then you talk about health and wellness. And those two things are actually the most important that we could ever, hope for in our life. But there's so much focus and emphasis on money these days. And I commend you for that. And yeah. Another thing is mentorship. So not only do you have an entire platform and business geared around mentorship, but you found mentorship yourself, and you talk about how that has helped you even recently to lose the weight, but it's helped you transition into entrepreneurship. It helped you grow in your career, even in the military and things like that. And then the other thing that was big to me is how you put an emphasis on reflection, and you look at, okay, look, I'm not doing enough, or I'm doing too much in my business, and it's helped you to self-correct and change course where you need to, so that you can be even more successful.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you kind of summed up like, I don't know. You kind of summed up my entrepreneurship journey right there so far. So it's, those are, right on the head.
Well, thank you again for your time. I can't wait to, to have you back, talk about where EVIG Marketing and where Rize are both going, and where to get to over the next few months, or even in a year. If you got some time for me, it'd be awesome. All right. I want to remind everybody out. Yeah, absolutely. I want to remind everybody out there, if you can dream it, you can achieve it. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Success Leaves Clues podcast.
Be sure to follow Dr. K on Instagram at Dr. K Washington or the podcast page at Success Leaves Clues Podcast. We'll see you here next time.